Story 1. Preparing everything I need in the morning the night before. That son of a bitch. Story 2. My ex used to tell me, stop being mean to my boyfriend, when I was depressed and talking badly about myself. It is helpful. Story 3. When you can do something in a few minutes, doing it immediately is faster than taking notes to avoid forgetting. Story 4. Folding towels a certain way. 25 years later and still folding towels the way her family does. She called it hamburger, hot dog, and then thirds. Looks nice. Story 5. I wash my hair the way my college boyfriend showed me. Shampoo just the scalp and let the suds rinse through the ends. Condition just the ends. Then pin up and let it sit for 5 or more minutes while you do the rest of your shower routine. He was a narcissistic jerk, but he was also a hair model, so he knew what he was talking about when it came to hair care. Story 6. Add garlic to the boiling water of potatoes for garlic mashed potatoes. Story 7. I learned to decide how much of an emotional reaction I want to express in a particular scenario. Anger, love, jealousy, and so on. You should decide your reaction, not the situation, she said one day, and my life changed in that moment. Story 8. Dry yourself off by using your hands first. The towel stays drier and takes longer to develop an odor. Story 9. When buying eggs, open the carton and wiggle each one. If an egg is cracked on the bottom, it will have leaked and stuck to the carton. Story 10. When we walked by a group where one of the group members took a photo for the rest of the group, she would offer to take a photo for the whole group. I always thought it was really kind, and now I do it too whenever the opportunity presents itself. Story 11. If the traffic light in the distance turns red, take my foot off the gas about 100 yards or more away, where I can still maintain my speed and then brake if I want to. The goal is to avoid coming to a full stop at the red light. I remember him saying it takes more gas to accelerate from a full stop. I don't know if that's true or how much gas it saves, but I picked up the habit under that philosophy anyway. Also, why be in a hurry to get to a red light? Story 12. Start every morning by eating a handful of almonds. It is brain food and really boosts my energy. Story 13. I shake most of my drinks before I open them now, except for carbonated ones. Sometimes the habit takes over and I shake those anyway, but that is another issue. My ex shook all her drinks before opening them. She said it was her obsessive-compulsive disorder and often needed me to open them. When I got her a drink from the fridge, I would just shake it in front of her, then started doing it with mine. It is irritating, and I wish I could stop, but I just cannot. Story 14. If your destination is close enough, safe enough, and the weather is not going to harm you, walk instead. Story 15. Using dryer lint in a toilet paper tube to start a fire. Story 16. Crushing empty water bottles and then putting the cap back on keeps them compressed. This saves space in recycling. Story 17. Saying we should just burn it all down whenever something mildly inconvenient happens is honestly therapeutic. Story 18. Cleaning dishes while cooking still makes it so much easier. Story 19. Leaving the toilet seat down and keeping multiple pairs of underwear when traveling. Story 20. Despite my ex being manipulative, she was very analytical. She was able to explain and argue both sides of social matters. While she is long gone, I am able to see certain situations from multiple perspectives. Most things are not black or white. Story 21. She told me she was really into theoretical physics, and I thought that was amazing. I was very self-conscious that I could not engage on that level, so I went to the library and got about a dozen books on the subject. I read them all and took notes. When I finally felt confident enough to talk with her, it turned out she had only read a couple over the summer. We started dating and then moved on. It was still great since it put me on the path to my love of engineering. Story 22. Using a fork for ice cream is much easier to take ice cream out of the carton and into your bowl, even when it is very frozen. If you are wondering why, look up how they break boulders in half with spikes. It is a similar concept. Story 23. Having money from every paycheck automatically transferred to my savings account felt like just another bill being deducted, so it stopped feeling like my money after a while. This allowed me to build up a nice safety net. Story 24. Not really a habit, or maybe it does not count as one, but I started putting my pillowcase on differently after seeing how he did it. I teased him at first, then later realized it was much easier. Turn the pillowcase inside out, put your hands in the corners, grab the pillow's corners, pull the case down over the pillow, and smooth it out. Story 25. Getting off before bed puts me in a more relaxed state, making falling asleep much easier. Story 26. Alternating glass cups with plastic cups in the dishwasher. Each glass cup is surrounded by plastic cups to reduce the likelihood of breakage. Story 27. Organizing silverware in the dishwasher. Forks in one slot, then spoons, butter knives, steak knives, and then any other utensils. I used to just put items wherever they fit. Story 28. In the era before wireless earbuds, one ex kept his wired earbuds in a tiny baby sock. It kept them from tangling in your pocket, which was very useful. Another ex always rubbed his toothbrush with his fingers when he rinsed it. This kept the little bits of toothpaste from accumulating and getting crusty. There are probably many more little habits I picked up and don't even remember. Story 29. Walking away after an argument actually helps. Just tell the person you need a minute to think. Story 30. Placing a kitchen towel in the pack with any fruit or vegetables in the refrigerator. Story 31. Talking to my plants. Keeping soap in clothing drawers. Goodnight kiss, I miss these. Shoes off at the door. Leftovers for friends. Many things. Story 32. Buying 2 items such as deodorant, toothpaste, lotion, and shampoo each time, and purchasing the next 2 when you start the last one from the previous batch. Story 33. Try the food at least twice, first to check and second to confirm flavor. It has led me to delicious food that my palate is not used to, more than simply saying, I do not like it. Story 34. I do not know if it was a habit or my own spite that turned into a habit. I had an ex who was an athlete and constantly bragged about his diet and workouts. One thing he always bragged about was not drinking soda. We were about 16 years old in high school in the southern United States around the year 2000, so everyone drank soda. He kept teasing me, saying I could never do it. I did it out of spite and stuck with it long after we broke up. Eventually, it got to the point that I could not stomach soda even if I tried a sip. Now I am 40, and the only time I have had any soda since then was when I had hyperemesis gravidarum, and Sprite and saltines were the only things I could keep down. Story 35. Stop complaining. One of the best send-offs in retrospect. Story 36. If you are not a morning person, get up 1 to 2 hours before you actually have to, so you can move slowly and enjoy your morning. Story 37. I carry feminine hygiene products in my backpack wherever I go. I may not be a woman, but I have friends who are, so it makes sense to have emergency sanitary pads with me in case they need them. Story 38. Carrying hand sanitizer in my car to use after the gas pumps, and then sanitizing the steering wheel with my hands. Story 39. Better driving. She was a good driver, but that was it. She was nasty otherwise. Story 40. If you are going to be lazy about not wanting to clean dishes after using them, at least give them a really good rinse first. Story 41. To calculate an approximately 20% tip in America, double the dollar amount on the bill and move the decimal 1 place to the left. For example, for a $35.71 bill, double 35.71 to get 70.42, then move the decimal 1 place to the left to get about $7.04. This is an easy way to estimate a tip. Story 42. Keeping calendars, making a to-do list every month, grayscaling my phone before I go to bed. Story 43. If I buy a gadget or something, it has to serve more than one purpose and must be a buy-it-for-life item. Story 44. If you are ever bored at the mall while your friends, partner, or family are busy elsewhere, flip through romance novels at the nearest bookstore and enjoy reading the dialogue and silly romantic scenes. Whether they are cringy, wholesome, funny, or all three. Story 45. Do not take the first chilled item in the grocery store. Take the second or third. You do not know if someone had it in their cart for a while and did not want it, or if it is a return that has been warmed up and then put back. Story 46. God. It's actually amazing how much I've learned from people I've dated. Off the top of my head, 1. How to make scrambled eggs properly. It's all about very low heat. Takes patience, but it's worth it. 2. How to drive a manual transmission properly, as explained perfectly by Hughes Atlas above and the comments below her post. 3. Cool down your car by opening the front window and the back window on the same side of the car, for example, the left side. 4. I never used to appreciate television and movies, but dated a screenwriter. Watching Schitt's Creek together made me appreciate that it's worth the patience and getting into it. I've enjoyed so many things because of him. 5. Getting back into Formula One racing, which I hadn't followed since I was a child with my dad. Now I love it again. It's the Verstappen era. 6. Wearing fluffy slippers in the house instead of shoes. 7. Polish chocolate bars called Princessa. I am Irish. 8. Having someone dry your hair for you feels really loving. 9. Listening to music as often as possible throughout the day. 10. When making instant coffee at home, put the milk in first and stir, then add the boiling water. Story 47. Cooking using an air fryer. That was and is a game changer. Story 48. An example of mine used to wrap presents at the holidays. She taught me some simple tricks to make them look better. Story 49. Many. 1. Using a sleep mask. 2. Consuming magnesium glycinate and KSM-66 extract for better sleep. 3. Not drinking coffee or tea after 5 p.m. 4. Intermittent fasting, although I do that intermittently. Story 50. When making pancakes, first mix flour and eggs. Only after that, add milk rather than mixing everything together. This results in a much smoother and better texture. Story 51. Maybe not interesting, but I am making my bed. I had not done it regularly since I was a child, and now I do not want to get into bed unless it is made, with the sheets nice and smoothed out again. Story 52. Stirring with a butter knife, cheese dip, thick sauce, sour cream, cottage cheese, peanut butter, and more is much easier to clean. Story 53. Paying attention to the news. From the summer before college until a year after. She criticized me for not being aware of current events and got me into the routine of checking the news. Ironically, by the time we broke up, she was focused on sensational headlines, whereas I would verify sources or at least read more than one article to find the truth beyond the headlines. She was difficult, but I am grateful for that at least. Otherwise, I might have remained uninformed about news and politics. Story 54. Not exactly a habit, but cheese pizza. I used to think it was a waste to skip toppings because they are the star. However, sometimes nothing beats a pure and simple cheese pizza. Story 55. Making my alarm clock play an upbeat song is much nicer to wake up to than grating alarm noises. Story 56. Stir your salad instead of tossing it for more even dressing distribution. Story 57. Keeping cigarettes in an Altoids case. One of the most painful heartbreaks of my life, and I think of her every time I rarely smoke a cigarette. Story 58. Putting my keys on something in the refrigerator, so I do not forget them. Story 59. I was loading the dishwasher completely wrong. At first I thought, what do you mean wrong? I had cups on the bottom, bowls facing the wrong way, and so on. I never grew up with a dishwasher, so I never thought about it. But when she explained it, it made so much sense. Story 60. Crack the back windows of your car and blast the air conditioning to get the hot air out quickly. This is a very useful trick here in Southern California. Story 61. She is not my ex. She is my wife. She introduced me to macaroni and cheese mixed with baked beans. The flavor combination is great. Story 62. Press check a pistol after you rack the slide. Machines fail. Sometimes you do not do your job, so you have a supervisor. You need to be a firearms supervisor. Dating a Special Forces soldier was an experience. Story 63. Smiling as I lay down in my bed helps me sleep easier and wake up well rested. Story 64. Turning off my data when I am out because it drains the battery. Also, I don't like Apple Maps or Google Maps at all. Story 65. Taping myself the way we sang head, shoulder, knee and toes, but with key, phone, wallet, headphone. I never forgot anything while leaving the house this way. Story 66. Putting cream cheese in my macaroni and cheese is transcendent. Story 67. Washing salads and other greens immediately after buying, drying them with paper towels, and storing them in the refrigerator. I have also learned a couple of nice recipes that I use occasionally. Story 68. Exfoliating is important. As a man, you may not realize how dirty certain areas can get. You have to scrub well, my friends. Story 69. When showering, I used to wash my hair last. My ex told me I should wash my hair first so all the oil does not run down my body after I have washed it. I do not know how much merit this actually holds, but I still do it 12 years later. Story 70. Instead of putting the socks missing their pair into my dresser, I put them back in the dirty clothes bin in hopes that the missing sock will be there next time. Story 71. Washing my onions before cutting them. He said it is to avoid tears. Also, sinigang recipe. Story 72. Checking the ingredients list on the food I buy in the store is a life changer. Story 73. I now carry a reusable water bottle with me everywhere I go. Staying hydrated is important. Story 74. I always ask myself if winning the argument is more important than the love and affection toward my significant other. I stopped being annoyed and angry for more than a few hours. Story 75. Always buy at least one avocado. He was so right. The thrill of eating one with any meal when it is the perfect squish is glorious. Damn him. Story 76. Flossing. My ex was just finishing school for dental hygiene. I am not fond of her now, but she fixed my swollen gums. Story 77. Using a bidet is much better. It is cleaner and saves money on toilet paper. Story 78. Cutting pizza with scissors. I had never done that before meeting her. She is long gone, but I still have a pair of pizza scissors in my drawer. Story 79. Minimalism. I have also given up television. I just watch content on my laptop. Story 80. Dipping fries in mayonnaise. I don't do it often, but when I'm out of ketchup and in a pinch, it takes me back. Story 81. Hanging my towel over the shower rod instead of the towel rack to wipe my eyes after washing my hair and face. Story 82. She used soap to scrub her hair and then put on shampoo. The soap was for washing, and the shampoo was for softness and fragrance. Story 83. For your information, you can use the list format to make it look nice. Start with an asterisk. Then follow the trend. Story 84. Placing tomorrow's outfit on a chair before bed eliminates morning decision fatigue completely. Story 85. Using a cashback rewards credit card for all of my purchases, then paying it off before interest accrues. Story 86. Looking at a restaurant menu before going to the place is important. I don't know why I didn't do it before. Story 87. I still tie my shoes the way my ex showed me. It is muscle memory now, and I could not even explain how it is done if I tried, but it is fast and smooth. Story 88. Walking on the roadside of the pavement. Instilled at 17 and still stuck in my head at 42. Story 89. I am a chef, so I definitely know how to cook, but the toast that my ex used to make was unmatched. I am still making it for myself, her way. I call it toast a la snake these days. Story 90. Recognizing that most people do not actually care about what you do or say all that much. They only really care about how you make them feel about themselves. This cured my social anxiety. Story 91. My ex always made a point to remember people's name tags at their place of employment and use their names. I have adopted this habit, and I believe it helps people feel seen and valued, not just like machines providing a service. Story 92. A girl I was talking to for a while once criticized me for not chewing my food properly and just inhaling it. It annoyed me at the time, but now I catch myself slowing down, chewing properly, and hearing her yell at me in my head. Hi, pedal. Story 93. When making a decision between two courses of action, the harder of the two is usually the right one. Lay here and watch television or go work out. Flip off the person that cut me off or continue with my day. Go through the drive-thru or make a healthy dinner. She was difficult, but I give her credit for this one. Story 94. Cursing. I didn't curse before, but now I can't seem to stop. I have tried on a few occasions, but as long as I am not in a professional setting, they just kind of seep out and become part of my everyday conversation, even if they rarely serve a purpose. Story 95. Not cheating on my partner with many other people. She did the opposite of that, so I did the opposite of what she did. Story 96. Peanut butter on a waffle is better than peanut butter on toast. Talking about your problems with others is not always helpful. Suppress those feelings instead of sharing them so they do not bother others. Story 97. Firing. I am glad I developed a healthy respect and fear of firearms. Story 98. When stepping out of the shower, step on my towel before stepping onto the bath mat so it does not get wet. When I go back into the bathroom to put the towel up, I do not step on any wet spots on the floor. Story 99. Heavily starching my shirts. It does look more professional. Story 100. Do not trust them when they say they are going to do something. Story 101. Sleeping naked. I try different positions with my friends and discuss technical topics such as which computer part is good or which mobile processor is better. Story 102. She got me sleeping with a loud fan at night. I can never go back and would not anyway. Story 103. He would wipe the water off himself with his hand before he got out of the shower so he was not dripping wet when he grabbed a towel. It amazed my young mind at the time, and I still do it after every shower 15 years later. Story 104. If I have a large amount of cash, I place the ones on the outside of the other bills to make it look like a smaller amount. Story 105. The last two X's. I do not know why I do this, but speaking mannerisms like no, no, no or ta-da-da-da-da when it comes to storytelling. Their music taste is electronic dance music or Mexican regionals. Skincare routine. It works. Wearing sunscreen. Story 106. Bringing reusable bags in case I need to buy or bring something. Now I have one in each of my bags. Story 107. Speaking a few English words in her accent. I do not know when it started to happen. Story 108. Washing my hands much more than before. Just got home? Wash hands. Just arrived at a new building? Wash hands. About to clean my face? Wash hands. I was obviously washing them after using the bathroom and when cooking, but it never occurred to me that I should wash them after being outside. Story 109. You have to wait a day before starting the next season. It lets you really think about the end of the season you just watched rather than rushing on to the next. It also reflects how there was a break between seasons when they first came out. Story 110. Your socks never need to be inside out. Every time you take them off, do not roll them all the way off so they are inside out. Just take them off outside out and you will never have to turn them again. Story 111. Closing my eyes before turning on the lights to let them adjust, so it will not hurt. Story 112. Not wearing any shirt or briefs while sleeping. She hates it every time I wear shirts. Story 113. When I am unkind to myself or when others are unkind to me, I picture that they are being unkind to me as a 10-year-old. It is the same person they or I am addressing. This perspective has made negative self-talk easier to manage and has made it easier to set boundaries with negative people. Story 114. My ex was a very messy person, so I learned the importance of being organized. Story 115. To drink more water. When I met him, I was barely drinking water, but he did it naturally and I picked it up. Story 116. He never left the house without having at least 3 clipper lighters in his pocket. There would usually be 5 or 6. I only ever used to take one and test that it worked before leaving the house, but I always take at least 3 lighters with me when I go to smoke now. There have been multiple occasions where 2 lighters stopped working at the same time, and it was only because I had backup lighters that I was able to have my joint. Story 117. Drinking apple cider vinegar every day will not fix post-traumatic stress disorder. It does not actually work. Story 118. I think this hardly answers the question, but I now play blackjack online because of my ex-girlfriend. I do not gamble with real money, but I like the game. Story 119. Whenever I blow my nose with toilet paper, I throw it in the toilet instead of the garbage. Story 120. Taking action towards a goal rather than leaving it to chance. Story 121. Brushing my teeth while in the shower. She said she thought everyone did this and asked what we did when the toothpaste dripped down. Story 122. Told me there is a right and wrong way to change the toilet paper. I used to be glad someone changed it instead of leaving it empty. Now it bothers me when it is not the right way when they put a new one on. Story 123. Before I sleep every night, I fill up my bottle with water. During the day, I drink from it 3 or 4 times, and it has to be cold with ice. Story 124. Changing into indoor clothes when you get home. Story 125. An Italian expatriate saved money by using pasta to upcycle almost any kind of leftovers. Another strict Muslim never consumed any alcohol or intoxicating substances and is a great influence on me. Story 126. I hang my work clothes above the dryer since those are the clothes I wear most often. This eliminates dragging clothes all over the house. Story 127. This is going to sound crazy, but I had an ex who never lied about anything. Ever. Not even little white lies to make others feel better. Their argument was that little lies stack up, and you, as the liar, have to remember an elaborate series of lies for trivial things. They didn't suggest being mean. You can be honest and kind at the same time. I watched this play out many times, both in small and large situations. One of the most significant was when they didn't want to continue our relationship. It was heartbreaking, but the honesty about why was actually freeing. I was never left with unanswered questions. As wild as it may sound, I took that to heart. I followed their example, and I have to tell you, it is very freeing. I don't have to remember anything because I know the truth. Does it suck sometimes? Yes, but it hurts a lot less in the long run. Story 128. Eating salad. My fiber intake has never been better. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.